Going on, everybody? UCF Jaguar back with another video, and as you guys all know, this channel is pretty much a Jacksonville Jaguars channel. About 95% of my videos are content on the Jacksonville Jaguars, about 4% about the NFL, and about 1% other. And this is going to fall in that 1% category. And my UCF Knights, a school that I'm an alumni of, graduated 2016, had a tremendous year this year, basically finishing off the year at an undefeated 12-0, earning their second New Year's Bowl in 5 years. Previously in 2014, when the Blake Bortles-led UCF Knights went on to face the Bryce Petty-led Baylors, and UCF was victorious in that game. And this is going to be a really exciting test for UCF as they have a really tough Auburn team, and they face off against them on Monday, New Year's Day at 12:30 p.m. on ESPN. So I'm extremely excited about this matchup. A huge test for the Knights and a huge opportunity to prove who we are. So in this video, I basically want to talk about this game and preview it a little bit for you guys that might happen to be watching the game. So let's get it. Now, the strength of UCF happens to be their offense. They have the #1 scoring offense in college football right now. They happen to be the only undefeated team in college football, and that's really the strength of their team. It's led by Mackenzie Milton, quarterback who finished 8th in Heisman voting, and he has just been tremendous this year. He really fits that Scott Frost offense. The way UCF actually acquired Mackenzie Milton was he was originally a commit to Oregon, a native out of Hawaii, and he committed to Oregon when Scott Frost was the offense coordinator there. Then Scott Frost got hired to UCF and then brought Mackenzie Milton over there with him. And he has just been tremendous. He can hurt you in the pass game, and he could hurt you in the run game as he's accumulated a lot of rushing yards this season. And we also have plenty of other weapons on offense. At running backs, we are led by Adrian Killins, one of the fastest players in college football. And we also have Otis Anderson in there, a freshman out of Jacksonville, Florida. And, just some other wide receivers. We have Traquan Smith, who is very much a pro-level athlete. He's definitely going to get drafted somewhere. There pretty much is an assumption that he is going to be declaring early for the NFL draft. And also tight end Jordan Akins, who is also outstanding. Now, this offense that UCF runs is far different from the offense that you saw in the Fiesta Bowl against Baylor. Back in the Fiesta Bowl, we ran more of a pro-style offense, and then now we run basically a huge spread. And Mackenzie Milton, I think that he is a better college quarterback than Blake Bortles was. He's just able to run the system a lot better, but Blake Bortles basically made for a better pro prospect just because he was coming out running the pro-style offense. He's a big 6'5", prototypical kind of guy, and they just saw a lot of upside in him. And then Mackenzie Milton, on the other hand, he's kind of smaller. He's about 5'11", kind of has a weird throwing motion, but just the way he's able to run this offense is absolutely outstanding, and obviously it's shown on paper with leading us to a record of 12-0. It's going to be really exciting to see how UCF matches up against Auburn's defense. Auburn has a 10th ranked defense. Obviously they play in the SEC, so they play against a lot of good teams. I mean, the worst thing Adrian Killins could have said is that the SEC doesn't have any speed and they haven't seen any speed like on UCF. I'll get to that point in a little bit later, but SEC, all you have to do is look at the players who are getting drafted in the NFL draft these last 5 to 10 years, and you'll see quite a good bit of speed comes out of the SEC. Now, what worries me about this game for UCF is our defense. Our defense, while they started the year pretty good, only allowing about 20 to 30 points per game, these last 2 games that they played against USF and Memphis in the AAC championship game, it hasn't been good. Against USF, we allowed 653 total yards, and against Memphis, 753. And it seems like our defense gets worse every week, which is unfortunate because Auburn has a pretty good offense. They run a really balanced offense. Their quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, is pretty good. He's completing passes at a 67% completion percentage, and their running backs are great. The main storyline behind their offense is going to be the health of Kerryon Johnson. He was missing during the SEC championship game, which is a big reason why the offense wasn't really able to get going. When Auburn doesn't have their running backs, they don't do as well in the games. They don't score as many points. And, their backup running back, Cameron Pitway, he also has over 1,000 yards rushing, and he did not make the trip. So it's going to be a huge responsibility for Kerryon Johnson, who is the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and he also has over 1,300 yards and 17 touchdowns this season. So the health of him, he is probable for this game, and he will most likely play. Just the thing is, how healthy is he, and how much of an impact can he make? He has a shoulder injury, so it shouldn't affect his lower body, but you never know how these shoulder injuries can affect a guy. Now, this game is about as good of a test that UCF can get. Auburn has played is basically 2-2 against teams that are in the college football playoffs right now. As we all know, they knocked off Alabama in the Iron Bowl, and they beat Georgia in the regular season. Now, their 2 losses came to Clemson during week 2 of the college football season, and against Georgia in the SEC championship game when they rematched. So it's definitely a really good test. SEC, they play great opponents, especially out there in the SEC West, where you have teams like Alabama and like LSU, Texas A&M, although they had a down year. They just have some good teams out there. Now, this is a game where UCF has a lot more to play for than Auburn. When you look at Auburn, in their case, if they win, then they beat UCF, which they should beat. However, if they lose, then they are a team that basically lost to a Power 5 school, and UCF has a huge chance to make a name for themselves. They've had some good teams in the past 5 years. I believe they have like 3 conference championships. This will be their second New Year's Bowl, where they of course knocked off Baylor 5 years ago. And it's going to be really fun and exciting matchup. Now, the worst thing UCF could have done for itself came out of the mouth of Adrian Killins, where he put up some bulletin board material saying that Auburn is going to be in for a rude awakening when they play against UCF, because SEC doesn't have much speed, and they haven't seen speed that UCF has. So I'm sure that's going to be definitely used to motivate these players. Gus Malzahn will put it places for these guys to see it, and if they need any bit of motivation, that will pick them up. Now, we'll talk about Scott Frost for a little bit. Of course, we all know that Scott Frost was the biggest head coaching candidate out there. He was like the #1 kind of guy that it seemed like people were after. Chip Kelly came in like a close second, but he's just a young, hot coach, and when he came to, I expected him to eventually leave UCF, but the only thing is, we did not expect it to happen this fast. This was his second season at UCF. He, of course, took over a team that went 0-11 or 0-12 in 2015, and then 2 years later brought them to undefeated. And when he took over the job, he said this is going to be a 3-year project, and it happened to only be a 2-year project. And after year 2, it just happened that his dream job at Nebraska opened up, and he really had no choice but to go home, back where a bunch of his family are, back where a bunch of his friends are, and try to rebuild Nebraska back up, because he, as an alumni, he is most definitely wants nothing but success for the team, and he feels like it's his responsibility to be able to bring back a school that he won a national championship at as a quarterback and bring them back to relevancy. Now, it's interesting how he is coaching this game, and he's accepted the Nebraska job about 3 weeks ago, and he's been actively recruiting for Nebraska. However, he's been down in Orlando coaching this game up, so it's just an interesting dynamic. But it just, it's going on, so what are you going to do? I mean, we're definitely more valuable with Scott Frost and his crew, because he's bringing most of his coaching staff over to Nebraska with him. Now, do I think UCF is going to win this game? I definitely wouldn't put money on it, just because this is such a tough matchup, but and just the defense worries me. Now, for UCF to have a chance, some things they have to do is they have to win the turnover margin. Generally, like with the way the defense has played these last couple of games, it seems like turnovers or more have bigger impacts than touchdowns do for this team. And I'm not necessarily worried that this offense won't be able to move it against Auburn. I'm more worried that this defense will potentially get exploited by a pretty good Auburn offense. Now, if Kerryon Johnson is out at this game, or at least hurting from his injury, then UCF has a much better chance because they'll key in on the passing game. But if they're able to capitalize, then it'll be nice. I mean, we have some players that can get takeaways. Our best, most electrifying player on defense, Shaquem Griffin. He's a twin brother of Shaquille Griffin, who got drafted in the 3rd round to the Seahawks and is basically taking over for Richard Sherman's injury out there. He's been having a great year, and his twin brother is the guy that actually got his hand amputated at the age of 3 or 4, and he's been remarkable, former AAC player, defensive player of the year, and he's outstanding. We also have safety Trey Neal, cornerback Mike Hughes, who is an NFL prospect. So these guys are going to have to be on their game if they want a chance to stop Auburn. Now, if UCF wins this game, it'll be huge, because if they want any shot at breaking into the top 4 of the college football rankings and potentially get a shot at that college football playoff one day, it's going to have to be a 2-year project. They're going to have to win this game this Monday, and then basically win out all of next season if they want any kind of hope at it. If they somehow go undefeated next year and this year, and they somehow don't get into the playoffs, then college football will really have to reconsider getting an 18 playoff in there, because it would be very flawed. But you've seen teams like Louisville back in, I believe it was 2013. They went on to have a really good year. Then they were basically ranked in the top 5, top 6 before getting knocked off by UCF, basically kicking them out of the conversation when they were an American Athletic Conference team. And you also have Houston of a couple years ago, who had that win over FSU in this same Chick-fil-A Bowl, and then Peach Bowl, and then went on to lose to I forget who they lost to next year, but they had some kind of key loss, and that basically knocked them out of the conversation. This is going to have to be a 2-year project if you even want to get in that conversation. So yeah, that about wraps up this video. I hope you guys liked this Peach Bowl preview video. Let me know if you guys are going to be watching this game and who you guys are rooting for. You already know who I'm rooting for, but this is UCF Jaguar, and I am out.
Who is the best undefeated college football team? Now, be honest. Be honest now. Who's the best?
Man, I'm probably going to say it's, the UCF. The UCF.
Oh, you got me going with that. I got excited for a second.
I'm going with UCF, man. You already know.